They call it the Pink Palace, towering above the white sands of Florida's Gulf Coast. The Don CeSar Hotel looks like something out of a dream, or a movie set. But beneath its pastel glamour and Art Deco charm lies a ghost story. A story of love, loss, and the kind of heartbreak that refuses to be buried. Welcome to Ghosts on Tour. I'm your host, Jamie, and tonight we begin our journey in St. Pete Beach, Florida, at a hotel built on devotion and maybe still haunted by it. Hi guys, I'm so excited to get started on this cute, fun, well, kind of scary also, little ghostly tour around the world. I feel like this is going to be such a fun endeavor. If you love ghost stories, paranormal activity, and haunted history like I do. So I thought that this would be a great outlet, and you guys might enjoy it too. So the Don CeSar Hotel opened in 1928, and it quickly became a very popular spot on the Gulf Coast, hosting presidents, gangsters, celebrities, movie stars, and millionaires. But this isn't just a tale of glamour, okay? This is a love story. The creator of the Don CeSar Hotel was named Thomas Rowe, and he was not a hotelier by trade. Honestly, I would describe him as a man with a broken heart and a vision. So let's go back a few years before the Don CeSar Hotel was built. Thomas Rowe was studying in London, and he met this beautiful opera singer named Lucinda. She was a Spanish woman, and their romance was intense and secret, and most of all, it was doomed. When her family found out about the relationship, they forbade her from the relationship and they whisked her back to Spain immediately. Thomas and Lucinda would exchange letters. They exchanged dozens of these letters, but then all of a sudden, the letters stopped coming. Some say that Lucinda died of an illness, and others say that the letters were intercepted, maybe by her family that did not agree with the relationship. But the saddest part is that Thomas Rowe never saw Lucinda again. So instead, he built a tribute to her. Thomas Rowe paid $100,000, which is today's equivalent of $1.3 million, to purchase 80 acres of land. He hired an architect and a building contractor, and he started building the sandcastle of his dreams. The Don CeSar was named after the heroic lover in Lucinda's favorite opera called Maritana, and it was said that Rowe wanted his hotel to be timeless, eternal, just like his love between him and Lucinda. But love like that rarely rests easy. After Thomas Rowe died in 1940 is when strange things started happening in this hotel. Guests of the hotel and even staff reported sightings of a strange man in a white linen suit that was just walking the halls of the hotel late at night at all hours of the night. He was seen walking slowly and kind of creepily. He would take a pause and look over at the Gulf sometimes. But the thing is that he isn't alone. There are many times where a dark-haired woman has been spotted walking beside him. Maybe this is Lucinda? She'd always be dressed in a vintage long gown. She'd be smiling faintly. Kind of creepy. Kind of eerie to think about, honestly. But they would vanish before their eyes. Employees of the Don CeSar had even reported hearing old music coming from empty rooms that were literally vacant. This old music would be old, scratchy records. Some would say that the elevators even moved on their own, and a bartender swore that he saw a couple that was sitting at the bar, and he turned around, and then he turned back around, and they were not there anymore, but their drinks were still there half full. On the 5th floor where Thomas lived previously, staff reported the sounds of knocking and swinging of doors. Maybe it was Thomas and Lucinda. Maybe they were taking little strolls. They were going to visit the fountain replica that was in the hotel, which they first fell in love near when they first met in London. This is where we get into some firsthand accounts that I want to read to you guys. I found a specific story on Reddit that I was deep diving a little bit about, and a person really recounted their story on Reddit of their experience in this hotel, and I thought that it was really interesting, so I want to read it to you guys. Room 803, True Story of Ghosts at Don CeSar. That's the title. I never believed in ghosts. Not until room 803. Not until she hovered over me in the dark, silent inches from my face. Eyes locked on mine like she had found what she'd been waiting for. She was beautiful, terrifying, sad. Familiar in a way that made no sense. And I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I could barely even breathe. All I could do was stare back. This is the true story of what happened to me at the Don CeSar in St. Pete Beach, Florida. You can believe me or not, I just know I can't make it unhappen. I was registered to speak at a professional conference held at the Don. I signed up late and the hotel was fully booked, no rooms available. I figured I'd stay nearby and make it work. Then, days before the event, I got a call. A room had opened up for me, which is great news, right? At check-in, they handed me a key to room 803. That struck me a little odd. The Don CeSar is a 7-story hotel. The elevator only goes to the 7th floor, but I didn't think too much about it until I stepped out on the top floor and started looking for my room. I walked the halls feeling a little foolish. No room 803 in sight. Eventually, I spotted a small, unassuming door that looked like it might lead to a janitor's closet. But next to it, printed in small type on a plaque, was a sign, 803 with an arrow pointing up. I opened the door. Inside was a narrow staircase, like something out of a forgotten wing of the hotel. I climbed it slowly, suitcase in hand, and at the top was a door with my room number. My key worked. When I stepped inside, I couldn't believe what I saw. A massive, beautifully furnished suite with a private rooftop patio overlooking the Gulf of Mexico. The sun was setting over the ocean, bathing the room in golden light. It felt peaceful, secluded, almost sacred. Lucky me, I thought. I had no idea. That night, I went to bed as usual. Nothing felt off, at least not yet. I always sleep on my side, but when I woke up, if you can even call it that, I was flat on my back. Arms by my sides, legs straight, completely still. It was around 3 a.m. and I couldn't move. I wasn't groggy. I wasn't dreaming. I was fully awake. I was fully aware, but I was paralyzed. The only thing I could move were my eyes, and that's when I saw her. She was hovering above me, inches from my face, in a flowing white dress, long, dark hair floating softly around her like she was underwater. Her skin was pale. Her eyes were fixed directly on mine, deep, searching, and endless. She wasn't angry, but she wasn't peaceful either. She looked almost desperate, like she was trying to connect with me, like she had something to say, or maybe something to take. And yet, as terrified as I was, there was something oddly tempting about her. She was hauntingly beautiful. There was a strange energy between us, like she was trying to pull me towards her with just her gaze. Then, as my eyes moved, because that's all I could move, I noticed someone else. Out on the rooftop patio, behind the glass door, stood a man. He was watching us, watching her, watching me. He wore an outfit that looked like it came from the 1920s. A collared shirt, suspenders, well-dressed, almost formal. He was standing still just beyond the glass, staring silently at the two of us. I turned my eyes back to her, and when I looked back at the patio, he was gone. Except now he was inside the room. The door had never opened. I'd locked it before bed, but there he was, just standing inside the suite. And when he saw that I was looking at him, he tried to hide behind the curtain. That was the moment I realized if I didn't act, I wasn't coming back. They weren't just watching me. They weren't just haunting the room. They were there for me. And I felt like I was about to be taken, not physically, but spiritually. Like if I didn't break free, they'd take something that I couldn't get back. And that's when I thought of my wife. Her face, her voice, our life, and I knew I had to fight. I gathered every ounce of strength I could find and forced myself to turn my head. It felt like pushing through solid stone. I broke the stair, and then finally, I rolled off the bed and crashed to the floor. They vanished. But the room didn't feel empty. It felt charged, like the air was vibrating. I crawled into the corner and grabbed the only thing that I could find, a heavy glass of water from the nightstand. I clutched it in my hands like a weapon, shaking, terrified that she would come back. She didn't, but I didn't sleep again. The next morning, I gave my scheduled talk at the conference. My voice trembled. I was shaken. I'm not someone who scares easily. I'm about as normal as they come. So normal, it's almost boring. But this changed me. I've never experienced anything like it before or since. I don't tell this story often. I know what people might think, but I'm telling it now because I know what I saw, what I felt. I don't need it to be believed. I just know that it happened. Room 803 is real. The Don CeSar is real. It's a 7-story hotel, but there's someone on the 8th floor. I believe her name might be Lucinda. I believe the man was watching her, maybe still in love with her, maybe trying to stop her. I believe they wanted to pull me into something I was never meant to be a part of. And I believe that, in the end, it wasn't fear that saved me. It was love. If you ever stay at the Don and they tell you a room has opened up, ask them for the room number. And if it's 803, you might want to say you'll stay somewhere else. That sounds a little bit crazy. I would love to experience something like that if I'm being so real. Like, I want to stay in room 803. If they gave me that key, I'd be like, okay, thank you. I mean, obviously the way that he made it sound was a little bit scary. They were going to kill him or something. I don't know. I guess it depends on what you believe in. If you believe that ghosts have energy to take someone's life or not. I personally don't think, for the most part, that ghosts kill people, but I'm sure that it can happen. But I feel like they would have no reason to do that, because why would they? Some of the other firsthand accounts, one guest described waking up to see a man in white standing at the foot of their bed. She said he didn't speak, he just looked really heartbroken, and then he faded into nothing. Another story comes from a housekeeper who was locked in a room she'd just unlocked seconds before. She heard whispering on the other side of the door, but when security opened it, the room was empty, and it was ice cold. So whether it's Rowe and Lucinda, or maybe spirits left behind from the time that the hotel was actually a World War II hospital, one thing is definitely clear: the Don CeSar Hotel holds on to its ghosts. Today, the Don CeSar Hotel is still open. It's in St. Pete Beach, Florida. It's a very popular hotel. You can go stay there if you want. It's still glamorous. It's still pink. There's been lots of music videos that have been done there. There have been movies filmed there. There's a lot of celebrities that have stayed there to this day. You can even get married at the hotel if you want. I mean, it is a romance story, so... But just remember, if you're walking the halls late at night, listen closely and really pay attention, because you just might encounter a lovely couple walking down the hallway that will vanish right in front of your eyes. Or you might even hear distant music coming from an empty room. And if you do, don't be afraid, because it's just a love story echoing through time. Thanks so much for joining me on episode 1 of Ghosts on Tour. I'm so excited to get this little podcast started. I think that it's going to be such a fun endeavor. If you enjoyed the first ghost story that we told, make sure to press the subscribe button. Make sure to leave a like and also comment down below. I would love to know your thoughts about the story and what you thought, or if you've had any personal experiences with this hotel and with the ghosts that reside at this hotel. That would be very cool. I would love to go visit. I'm in Florida. That's why I picked this story, because I live in South Florida and I'm not too far from this hotel, so I could stay there and I could request room 803 for shits and gigs if I really wanted to. The Don CeSar is a love story trapped in time, but what happens when love turns sour? Next time on Ghosts on Tour, we are traveling to Savannah, Georgia, where the Spanish moss hangs low and the spirits hang even lower. Inside a grand southern mansion once reserved for the elite lies the story of a woman scorned, a servant silenced, and a house that refuses to forget. Some say it's beautiful, but I would not call it that. Some say it's cursed, and it might just be Savannah's most haunted house. Join me on the next episode where we dive into the Sorrel Weed House in Savannah, Georgia. That's if you're not afraid of what still lingers upstairs. Love you guys. Talk to you in the next episode of Ghosts on Tour. Bye. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, then YouTube says that you might like this one. Okay. Love you. Bye.